But also, sometimes you write something, and you're like, oh, wow, that is a detail and it's so powerful. All right, hey everyone, we have another great coaching video all about show, don't tell. So, how do you struggle with show, don't tell? Or if you feel like you have a good grasp of the concept, what's your biggest tip? Leave a comment and let us know. And if you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, hit the like button. It really does help. All right, see you soon. Is it
Thank
stressful seeing all the highlights?
Oh, yeah. I guess we start off again.
No, this is good. Okay, so let's talk about show, don't tell first, because you are doing some good showing and you're also doing a lot of telling. Okay. So let me show you
Mhm.
some showing that you're doing, and then I'll kind of see how you're both doing it well and also kind of not. All right. So let's just take this paragraph, for example. She stretched her aching muscles, put her bare feet on the cold, hard floor, and reached out for her robe that hung from the bedpost. What I need, she thought, is some strong coffee to clear your head, a bite of breakfast, and some good physical work in my garden. This is showing. Let's make
Okay.
sure it's green. This will make telling blue. Oh, that's not blue. I don't know why it's green there. This is telling. Do you see why?
So this green part you're saying is telling.
This is showing, forcing herself to shake off the persistent thoughts. That's telling. What I need, she thought, is some strong
Okay.
coffee to clear my head. This is telling because you're in her head.
Okay.
This is definitely showing. This is not
Mhm.
showing. Okay. This is telling because she is shaking off persistent thoughts. She's not physically doing that, right? She's just describing her
Right.
inner state. And what's funny, not funny, it's just like one persistent thing about your style, speaking of persistent, is that you weave showing and telling constantly, right? Like here, after a second cup of stout coffee, she made her way to the back porch where she stepped into her warm coveralls, tied a woolen scarf around her head, and pulled on her tall insulated rubber boots. Once outside, she breathed in the fresh wintry air. Very showy, right? Showing all the way.
Okay.
It was exhilarating.
Mhm.
Instantly, her spirits lifted. Her beloved garden always had that effect on her. Her heartbeat quickened. That is all telling, right? Because we're not seeing those things. Those are things that are happening inside of her. You're
Mhm.
describing her inner state. And then she unlatched the iron gate that led into her garden sanctuary. Now, telling isn't always bad. There are times when you want to tell because it might take too long to show. It might be too detailed. It might not be that important. The reason why you want to show is you want to show us the things that are really important. You always want to show the things that have the most amount of drama. That's where we really focus in on showing. Now, when you're in the exposition and you're setting up her life and who she is, what kind of character she is, what makes her interesting, it's okay to show some things that are not necessarily the most exciting things in the world, right? Because it speaks to her character and who she is. So showing her gardening, I think is really great. Unless you're really going to focus deep on gardening, you probably don't want to do this for chapter after chapter. But as a little snippet, this is very good. It helps us get a sense of who she is. And I think it's great. But one thing I want to challenge you is what would it look like to have this whole section without telling it all? Okay. Because you're
Okay.
weaving in telling throughout and you're doing it pretty naturally. But I want you to think about as an exercise, as a practice, you might say, what would it look like to do this just showing 100%? kind of this exact scene as a way to see what that felt like to your writing. Now, one of the best ways to do that is to do you have a garden at your house? Do you do gardening? You do. So,
I do, yeah.
what would it look like to take a notebook outside with you or even your laptop and sit there in your garden and describe what it feels like to be out there? Describes the details, like what the birds are doing, what the flower beds look like, what the vegetable beds look like, the smell. Describe the physical sensations of being there, right? And
Right.
let's say that this garden section, 587 words. So challenge yourself to write 500 words or so. Just 100% show describing what it feels like in the garden. And ideally from Anna's perspective, right? Does that make sense?
It does, yes. And okay, as far as her thoughts, I mean, you read where I said, let's see, um, just she thought this. Is that necessary? Should I omit that and just let the narrator kind of tell how she feels or what's going on with her?
I think a little bit of it is necessary. And I think you're doing it a little too much, right? And I
Okay.
want you to just get into the habit of showing with a lot of detail. And I think when you do that exercise and see how differently it feels, you'll be surprised at how realistic it feels, how
Hmm.
deep it gets you into the moment of the character. And it's almost more intimate, right? Because we're hearing all her thoughts, right? But because we're going back and forth and like, we're not quite in the moment with her, it doesn't feel like we're quite as close. There's something about when you're just so fully immersed in the moment that actually feels more intimate, even though you can't even necessarily hear all the thoughts that they're thinking, right? So
Okay.
it's more of a writing exercise. You could use some of that in this too, but it's just to me like that kind of writing like changed so much for me when I just learned how to observe in the moment and practice not telling, practice showing everything I saw, really physical, really detail focused. It makes your writing so much better. Yeah. Because there are some cool things here, right? But it feels arm's length. And I think when you are experiencing it and learning to describe it, when you physically are experiencing it, it helps you kind of make it more personal. That's actually a technique. It doesn't take much to show, right? Sometimes a couple of paragraph can do it if it's very focused and very detailed. Like you pick out one or two little details, like the way the light falls on a brass knob or something, and you kind of describe the pattern in a few words. Like sometimes that's enough to just be like, oh, wow, I am there. I am here with you. We're in this together, right?
Okay.
You're not doing that, right? You're doing it, but it feels like it needs to be a little bit more. So try it out. I mean, I think it would be a fun exercise. I think you'd learn a lot from it. Like some of this too. Okay. So here would be a good example of a thing that you are telling that should be showed, right? She kept precise records. Okay. Show her keeping the precise records, right? Show her writing it down in her brown leather covered notebook with dirt stains in all the pages and one page that's like half torn out from the gum that she had to throw away or whatever. Show her doing that and
Okay.
what her handwriting looks like and how she stands up to write these notes. Or maybe she has to sit down in the dirt or I don't know what she does, but like we need to see this kind of stuff.
I see. Okay. I kind of moved from my first draft. I didn't have but 60,000 words. So I thought, I've told the story. I'm done with the story, but I know on my second draft, I'm going to probably need to expand on things. Like you're saying, go into more detail. And then you've explained very well about the showing. I understand that better now, what I need to be doing. So I think that's going to help me get back into this chapter again and fix it and then go forward from there.
You can have
Right.
books that are way too showy, right? Go read Proust or go read sometimes Cormac McCarthy. Like they show for days and it's super boring. If you go spend 1,000 words describing your bedroom and just describing all the objects in there, picture's worth 1,000 words, but what if it's a boring picture, right?
Right.
Like 1,000
Yeah.
words of boringness. So telling is important because it kind of moves us to the next interesting place, right?
Mm.
And then we show that. The showing is like the camera pointing at something, but you have to make sure that your camera is pointing in the right direction. That you're seeing something that's really interesting, right? And if you're not doing that, then move us along, get through that so that we can see the next thing. So right now, I feel like this is kind of 50-50, 50 show, 50 tell. And I want it to be like 65-35, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So if you went
Yeah.
through this and highlighted all the showing and all the telling, I feel like it would be about 50-50. And maybe it's even 60-40, 60 tell. And I want you to get to 50-50 or 60-40, like a little bit more telling. I mean, a little bit more showing, right? Here's here's a simple example. Okay. This is all
Mhm.
telling because this is a summary, but there's these little details, these little pockets of show like this. This is kind of in between because it's narrative, but, but this is a specific piece of dialogue, right? So that's kind of
Mhm.
showy, but it's a summary. It's like the narrator interpreting what 30 people have told her. So it's kind of telling. Does that make sense? I know I'm getting kind of specific and detailed here, but you could just tell that, right? By saying Bruno, the chef at the best restaurant, corner restaurant, been there for 3 generations, came up to her and held her hand and said, whispered in her ear, "These are the best vegetables I've ever
Mhm.
seen." You know what I mean? That is showing.
Okay.
Okay. You're using little
Yes.
details, but those little details give the picture of everything. You said your draft is 60,000 words. Mystery tends to be in a little bit shorter, but 70 to 90,000 would be a good benchmark for your next draft. And to me,
Okay.
just looking at this chapter, my bet is that looks like adding 20,000 or so, maybe 25,000 words, mostly detail, mostly showing, and cutting 5 or 10,000 words of telling. Does that make sense? So
It does.
slimming some of the telling, some of the inner monologue down, choosing a couple of those moments to show some more detail, which is going to take more space. And then you'll end up a little bit more. It'll be a little bit longer. See how this is showing? You have some like specific details. I think that's great. Now,
Yeah.
this is both showing and even this is a little bit telling. I mean, it's not, it's showing, but you're almost thinking of it like a montage, right? Like in a film, how sometimes they'll show like in 5 seconds, they'll show like 3 different or 10 different clips of a person going through their chores or something, their morning thing, right? It's a montage.
Mhm.
And Here, we are not seeing her carefully clipping last season's rose, the yellow rose by the fence, right? With the dew still
Right.
clinging to it because it's winter. We're not seeing that. We're not seeing her get down on her knees and pull away from the root ball. We're not seeing her pull the leaves out from there, or like that would be very specific and would be showing. This is we're seeing her do that. We're seeing kind of her moving around her garden doing these little things. And so it's not specific enough, and that can be okay. It's a different kind of showing. It's a montagey kind of showing, right?
Mm,
But I want you to really focus
yeah.
on that specific moment, like right here in this breath. This is what she's doing.
Okay. That's good.
I put this as kind of telling and passive voice because I wasn't sure, but I didn't like it. This is showing and it's good. She washed the dirt from her hands. You could maybe get more specific, but maybe you don't need to. Anytime you're
Mhm.
transitioning place, do a little bit more showing. Okay. So here she's
Okay.
going from her garden to the kitchen. Okay. And anytime you're going through a door or to a new location, just make it a rule to give a little bit more showing. Like it could be 2 or 3 lines, just setting up that spot. Okay. Now she's out, she's
Okay.
in her kitchen. This is what it feels like to be in her kitchen. This is what her kitchen looks like. She's kind of a slob. There are dishes out from last night, or she's very neat and fastidious. So everything is neatly put away and the floor is a spot or somewhere in between. You just give us some of those details so that we can readjust to the location. We have to have a picture of it in our mind. And if we're just flying through, then we're not where it becomes difficult to visualize.
I
So
see.
just two or three, 2 or 3 sentences. This is where screenwriting is a little bit better as a training for writers because there are really hard and fast rules when you're writing a script that if you change settings, and they will just say scenes, if you change scene, you have to start a whole new page. You put this special description that's like interior Anna's kitchen night, right? Just for the
Mhm.
director and the production. And it just makes you really aware of location and what the viewer, the reader for us is going to see. And I think that's just a good habit to have as writers that we need to be conscientious of our reader enough that when we move to a different place, we're giving them a little enough description that they can create a picture of it in their head. And that just needs to be like 2 or 3 lines, right? It doesn't have
Mhm.
to be a lot, just a little bit of detail so that they can fill in the rest. So yeah, this is good. I mean, I like this. We're getting some detail about her husband. Oh, what I didn't like about this is just like it's passive voice. It should just be she washed the dirt from her hand until her stomach grumbled and she realized she was terribly hungry. And it's passive voice because she was suddenly aware instead of active voice, which her stomach grumbled. Anytime you see was,
Mm.
there's a chance that it's passive voice, not always. But there's this one quote that I really love, and I'm going to paraphrase it. I can't remember it exactly. The secret to great storytelling is to choose a few moments and give us a lifetime. And that's what we do. I mean, we have to choose moments and we have to show those so well that we feel like we're there. And those moments have to fill in everything else for us so that we don't have to tell, right? Because we
No.
clearly see what's going on. Like you can go watch an argument with a couple and know what their whole relationship is, right? Is like you can fill in all the other details. And that's what you have to do, right? Choose a couple of moments from the relationship, like one or two backstory things, maybe even just one. And that can be enough, right? We get it. We totally understand what's
Mm,
going on here. You don't even have to tell
okay.
us the thing. We got it, right?
Uh,
And it's challenging,
yeah.
but it's also kind of fun. I mean, it's simpler in some ways.
Yeah. Yeah. I can see that. Okay. I can see I've got work to do, but this has been really helpful, very
Good.
helpful.
I'm happy to hear that.
I knew I was on trying to make the show work out, and maybe like you said, I've done it some, and but still, there's a lot of the telling that I need to work through, and but I'm understanding it better now. I'm every time I speak to somebody or they
Yeah.
can actually show me my work where I need to change it, work it different, I can see it better. It's
Wow.
better to see your own work being fixed than seeing someone else's, an excerpt from somebody else's, and then, how it's fixed. This makes more sense to me.
And I think it's such great homework. Just like one of the best practices that you can do is just bring in a notebook with you. You're in the garden, you're doing a little bit of work, and then you're like writing a little bit and kind of trying to, if, how could you write something that would give someone a crystal clear picture of what it looks like for you to garden, right? To be super mindful about how you would describe the trowel going into the earth, like that level of detail. So just take your notebook out with you and write 1,000 words, just showing this stuff. It's going to both feel so boring and so amazing. I think that's
Yeah.
kind of how it is. It's so detailed and kind of stupid feeling. Like, why am I describing this? It's brown. Of course the dirt is brown, right? But also sometimes you write something and you're like, oh, wow, that is a detail and it's so powerful. And I don't know, I think it can really enliven your writing.
It's great. Appreciate it. It's big help, huge help.
Good,
Thank you. Thank
good.
you.
A lot of good things here to work with. And I think you both have a good story. You have good characters. And I think it's going to be great.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Never took writing in school.
Yeah.
The only thing I can remember, I was in college in a class and got my paper back, and it had so many red marks on it. I didn't even know what to say about it. But yeah, I think in my heart, I think I'm more of a storyteller. And I guess that's why I'm more writing like I'm telling a story rather than showing a story.
Yeah. One thing that you did that I really love, and I really hear your voice in this. Let me share my screen again. I'm glad you mentioned that. Okay. This, I hear your voice, and this, I hear your voice, right? So these kind of like Southern idiom, just put that everywhere. I think it's so great. Can you see it? He was as bullheaded as the day is long. Okay.
Uh-huh.
And this,
Okay.
but she knew full it had a name, Jim Bob Thornhill. Like I hear your voice so clearly there, right? And do that all the time, like all the time. Just throw those in there, even when you're showing, right? Put it in there.
Uh-huh.
That stuff is so great.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I love that. I love to do that kind of thing. That is just kind of me.
Yeah.
So yeah,
You
no
can
more.
you can do that when you're showing too. I mean, do it when you're talking about the gardening. Really.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. I think it adds a something more personable, I guess, to it. It's not they're just not thinking something that anybody could think. It's your thoughts. It's your person. You're who you are. Yes.
It's a good voice.
It's been great. It's been very helpful. Thank you so
Okay.
much.
Thanks, Gene. See ya.
Bye bye.